Today we will be doing an interactive repeated read aloud. With an interactive repeated read aloud, you want to make sure that you are using a picture book that has grade appropriate text complexity. With these third grade students, we're actually using a mid-second grade level text, although we are making sure that we are having third grade appropriate analytical questions. You can see throughout the book that we've gone ahead and we've placed sticky notes with in-depth analytical questions that students will respond to during the second read. You also want to make sure that when you're doing a read aloud that you front load the vocabulary. Before our first read, we front loaded the vocabulary incorporating motions and images, and we refer to this vocabulary throughout the second and third reads. During the interactive repeated read aloud, students will make sure that they're engaging with the images and that they're being supported by the images in addition to the questioning. This repeated read will last through 3 different read alouds, and each time we'll dig even deeper, following a close read simulation. Good morning, guys. How are you all?
Good.
Good. All right. Well, this morning we're going to continue our repeated interactive read aloud. And what was the story that we were reading?
The Three Bears.
The Three Bears. That's right. And so when we read it last time, we remember that our characters were Goldilocks and who else?
The Three Bears.
The Three Bears. And where did this story take place?
At the woods.
In the woods. Where else, Oliver?
House.
Yeah, at their house. Good. So we're going to keep reading it again, okay? We're going to read it the second time. And this time when we read it, we're going to ask some deeper questions. We're going to see if we can figure out why did the bears do some certain things and why did Goldilocks do what she did, okay? So we're going to talk about that. Before we do, let's review our vocabulary, okay? So this was vocabulary that we went over when we read it the first time that really helped us understand the story. What was porridge? What was our motion? Yeah, it was a hot breakfast food, and we said it was kind of like what? Oatmeal or grits. Good. And then what was this word?
Peak.
Peak. And show me what we did for peak. Yeah, and we said that peak was what?
A little sneaky look.
A little sneaky look. Good. And then we learned the word keyhole. And we've got our picture over here. What part of the door is the keyhole? It's where we put the key in. Good. Is it a big piece of the door or a little piece of the door? Little. Good. And we said the word parlor. We need to think of what when we hear the word parlor? A living room. And we talked about at our house, our parlor or our living room, what furniture do we find in our parlor? Couches. What else? Chairs. TVs. Good. Yeah, and tables. And then we said the word noticed. And if we notice something, what are we doing?
To know.
We know something or we see something good. And then our last word that we learned was cushion. And what was a synonym or another word for cushion?
Pillow.
Pillow. Good. So we're going to see those words again today as we read our story, okay? All right. So let's get ready to read The Three Bears. Once upon a time, there were 3 bears who lived together in a house of their own in the woods. One of them was a little wee bear. One was a middle-sized bear, and the other was a great big bear. They each had a bowl for their porridge. The little wee bear had a little wee bowl. The middle-sized bear had a middle-sized bowl, and the great big bear had a great big bowl. They each had a chair to sit in. The little wee bear had a little wee chair. The middle-sized bear had a middle-sized chair, and the great big bear had a great big chair. And they each had a bed to sleep in. The little wee bear had a little wee bed. The middle-sized bear had a middle-sized bed, and the great big bear had a great big bed. One morning, the 3 bears made porridge for breakfast and poured it into their bowls. But it was too hot to eat, so they decided to go for a walk in the woods until it cooled. All right, guys, so what does this story tell us about why the bears went for a walk? Kaylee?
So their pool can cool down.
So the porridge could cool down. Good. And why would you want your porridge to be cool before you eat it? Think about that for a minute. Why would we want porridge to be cool? Oliver?
For it wouldn't be not very hot to eat.
And if porridge is really hot and we eat it, what's going to happen?
We're going to burn our
We'll burn our mouths, right? And we don't want to do that. Good. So they wanted it to cool down so they don't burn their mouths. Good. While the three bears were walking, a little girl named Goldilocks came to their house. First, she looked in at the window, and then she peeked through the keyhole. All right, guys, why do you think Goldilocks is looking in the window and peeking in the keyhole? And why wouldn't she just knock on the door? Think about that. That's a big question. Think about that. Why is she peeking through the windows and the keyholes instead of just knocking on the door? What do you think?
She want to see what's in there.
She wants to see what's in there. Okay, what else? Oliver?
She wanted to get in.
She wanted to get in. What else do you think?
She wanted to know what things are in there and what stuff are in there.
Oh, she wants to know what stuff's in there. Let me think about that. I'm peeking in the windows, so I definitely want to know what's inside. But let me think. Do you think Goldilocks maybe knows that the bears live there?
No.
When you guys go to a new house, do you peek in the windows?
No.
Do you usually know who lives there?
No.
Not always? Sometimes, right? I'm wondering if Goldilocks peeked through the keyhole and looked in the window because maybe she does know that the bears live there. And if I knew bears lived in a house and I wanted to see what was inside, do you think I'm going to go up and start knocking on the door? Maybe or maybe not. I know bears live there. Am I going to knock on the door? No? Why not?
Because if you knock on the door, the bears might
They might what, Raimundo?
attack.
They might attack. So maybe I'm not knocking on the door because I know bears live there and they might attack me. But if I peek through the window, what am I looking for? I'm looking to see what it's inside, but I'm also looking for what?
Something.
Look,
The bears.
I'm looking for the bears. Good. So I'm looking to see if the bears are there. Of course there was nobody inside. Goldilocks turned the handle of the door. The door was not locked because the three bears were trusting bears. They did no one any harm and never thought anyone would harm them. So Goldilocks opened the door and went right in. There was the porridge on the table. It smelled very, very good. Goldilocks didn't stop to think whose porridge it was. She went straight to it. All right, so this page says that the door was not locked because the three bears were trusting bears, okay? And it says they did no one any harm and never thought anyone would harm them. Why would the bears not think anybody would hurt them? Why are they thinking nobody's going to hurt them?
Because they trust that nobody's going to go to their house.
They trust no one's going to go to their house. And why would no one go to their house? Think about it for a minute. Raimundo, why do you think no one would go to their house?
Because they gonna start attack.
They might attack because what are they?
Bears.
Bears. Would you be afraid to go to a bear's house?
Yes.
I would be afraid to go to a bear's house. So I'm wondering if Goldilocks knows that these are trusting bears and that they wouldn't harm anybody. Do you think if you knew that they were safe bears, then would you maybe feel a little bit better going in their house? If you went to the zoo and the zookeeper said, these are really nice, safe bears, would you go in their cage? Maybe not. Maybe you would, but probably not. No, you wouldn't trust them? First, she tasted the porridge of the great big bear, but it was too hot. Then she tasted the porridge of the middle-sized bear, but it was too cold. Then she tasted the porridge of the little wee bear. It was neither too hot nor too cold, but just right. Goldilocks liked it so much that she ate it all up. Then Goldilocks went into the parlor to see what she could find. And what was our word for parlor?
Living room.
Good job, guys. There were the three chairs. First, she sat down in the chair of the great big bear, but it was too hard. Then she sat down in the chair of the middle-sized bear, but it was too soft. Then she sat down in the chair of the little wee bear. It was neither too hard nor too soft, but just right. Goldilocks liked it so much that she rocked and rocked until The bottom of the chair fell out. Down she went, plump, onto the floor. Goldilocks went into the bedroom where the three bears slept. First, she lay down upon the bed of the great big bear, but it was too high at the head for her. Then she lay down upon the bed of the middle-sized bear, but it was too high at the foot for her. Then she lay down upon the bed of the little wee bear. It was neither too high at the head nor too high at the foot, but just right. Goldilocks liked it so much that she covered herself up and fell fast asleep. Why on earth, think about this for a minute, why on earth would Goldilocks sleep in the bear's house? Why would she do that? Why don't you guys turn and talk and tell each other why you think Goldilocks would sleep in the bear's house, and you two turn and talk and tell each other why Goldilocks would sleep in the bear's house. Why would she do that? Why would Goldilocks sleep in the bear's house? Tell each other. Why would she?
Because you're comfortable in the bed.
Oh, I like that. Comfortable. What do you think?
That she thought that that's good too, but I think she thought they would never come back, or they were, or doing something, and they're gonna be there, you know.
But I think she that when she was in the woods, she knew that the bears were that was their house, but she thought that that no one was home, so she went in.
Good. I heard all of you make some really good statements. So I heard Raimundo say, why was she sleep in the bed, Raimundo?
She thought no one was there.
She thought no one was there, and she was really what? What was that word you used? She's really comfortable, right? If you guys go somewhere and it's really comfortable and no one's there, would you feel safe going to sleep? Maybe. Kaylee's like, no, I'm not comfortable. But I did hear you guys say that she knew they weren't there. She knew that it was really comfortable. And you also, Kaylee, you used the word that they were trusting bears and they wouldn't harm anybody. So you used that quote from the book. Maybe Goldilocks knew that they weren't going to harm her. So you guys had some really good thoughts about that. Good job. By this time, the three bears thought their porridge would be cool enough. So they came home for breakfast. Goldilocks had left the spoon of the great big bear in his porridge bowl. He noticed it first thing. Somebody has been tasting my porridge, said the great big bear in his great big voice. Goldilocks had left the spoon of the middle-sized bear in her porridge bowl too. Somebody has been tasting my porridge, said the middle-sized bear in her middle-sized voice. Then the little wee bear looked at his bowl. Somebody has been tasting my porridge and has eaten it all up, cried the little wee bear in his little wee voice. The three bears went into the parlor. Goldilocks had left the cushion crooked in the chair of the great big bear. He noticed it first thing. Somebody has been sitting in my chair, said the great big bear in his great big voice. Goldilocks had squashed down the cushion in the chair of the middle-sized bear. Somebody has been sitting in my chair, said the middle-sized bear in her middle-sized voice. Then the little wee bear looked at his chair. Somebody has been sitting in my chair and has sat right through it, cried the little wee bear in his little wee voice. All right, so if you are one of the three bears, what are you starting to think as you come into your house and your food has been eaten and your chairs have been sat in? What are you thinking if you're one of those bears? What are you thinking?
That somebody has done all those things.
Somebody has done all those things. Kaylee, what do you?
Have been in the house.
Somebody's been in your house. Oliver?
Someone was interested of their stuff.
Someone's interested in your things. Raimundo, what do you want to add? Do you agree with all of them that somebody's maybe been in the house?
Somebody went in their house.
Somebody went in their house. Great. I think that too. The three bears went into the bedrooms. Maybe that's why they go to the bedroom. Do you think they're looking for that person?
Yes.
Maybe. Goldilocks had pulled the pillow of the great big bear out of place. He noticed it first thing. Somebody has been lying in my bed, said the great big bear in his great big voice. Goldilocks had pulled the blanket of the middle-sized bear out of place. Somebody has been lying in my bed, said the middle-sized bear in her middle-sized voice. Then the little wee bear looked at his bed. Somebody has been lying in my bed, and here she is, cried the little wee bear in his little wee voice. This woke Goldilocks up at once. There were the three bears all staring at her. Guys, look at this picture. What on earth is Goldilocks thinking when she wakes up? Look at this picture for a minute. Look at her expression. Raimundo, what is she thinking?
A little bit of scared.
She's scared.
She's looking that somebody will hurt her.
She's thinking maybe they're going to hurt her.
She thinks that they're gonna do something to her.
They're going to do something. And knowing what bears are, maybe could they do to her? Thinking about what you know about bears. What might a bear do to her? What might she be thinking? Think on that for a minute. I'm going to come right back, okay? What could that bear be maybe thinking it's going to do to her? What is she thinking that bear wants to do to her?
Attack her.
Attack her. Do you have something you want to add to that? Attack
her with claws.
Maybe get her with his claws. Good. Kaylee, you want to add? What else?
They're going to hurt her.
Yeah, that she might be thinking that. And if we look at her expression, she does look a little nervous, a little scared. Goldilocks was so frightened that she tumbled out of bed and ran to the open window. Out she jumped. Think about that. How did she get out of the house?
The window.
From the window. Why didn't she run all the way back through the house to the front door?
Because she's scared.
She's scared? What else?
They're gonna catch her more. They're gonna catch her so fast.
Yes, if she tries to run to the door, they might catch her. What else?
That they're gonna chase her.
They might chase her if she runs through the door. Look at that window. Do you think the bears can get out of the window as easily as the door?
Yes.
Or might a bear get stuck trying to climb out the window? Yeah.
Might get stuck.
It might get stuck, so maybe that was the safest route. What else?
One of the bears will get stuck and the other two won't.
Oh, maybe. Which bear would maybe be able to get out the window?
The biggest one?
The biggest one might be able the one that would get stuck. What else, Kaylee?
The big one might get stuck in the middle one, but the little one can fit in the window.
The baby bear might be able to fit out the window, but do you think Goldilocks could outrun baby bear? Could she run faster than baby bear maybe?
Yes.
Maybe, yeah. I think she jumped out also because that was a lot faster, like you guys said, than running through the house. She ran away as fast as she could, never looking behind her. No one knows what happened to Goldilocks after that. As for the three bears, they never saw her again. All right, guys. So we've read our book a second time, and I want you guys to just think for a minute. Just think. Do you think Goldilocks ever went into a strange house again?
No.
You guys are really fast with no. Okay, so I want you to tell your neighbor, okay, so turn and talk again. Tell them why you think she never went into another strange house again.
She never went to their house because she's scared or nervous.
She might think that they might hurt her if she go into another stranger's house.
Good. I heard some really great answers. I heard you guys say that she was really scared and she might not know whose house and she's going to get maybe attacked again. And you guys say she's worried about getting attacked and she's really scared about whose house it might be. Good job, guys. All right. So now we've completed our second reading of this story, okay? So later we'll come back and we'll read it a third time and we'll go even deeper. All right? Good job, guys. All right, guys. You guys ready to do our story wheel?
Yes.
Okay. So in front of you, you all have a blank story wheel, okay? It kind of looks like a pizza or a pie. And here we have 6 triangles on our story wheel. And we are going to use each of these triangles to retell a part of our story, okay? And we just finished reading The Three Bears, right? And we really enjoyed that book, didn't we? Mm-hmm. All right. So I have a model for you all, and here's what we're going to do. In that top wedge, we need to know what book are we retelling. So in that top wedge, I wrote the title, The Three Bears, and I wrote the author's name by Paul Galdone, okay? So I want you guys in your top wedge to write the title, The Three Bears, and the author's name by Paul Galdone. And so I'll turn it that way so you can see, okay? And then you guys see that I drew little faces of what?
The bear.
3 bears. So you guys can draw a little quick picture of 3 bears so we know who the main characters are. Good. And so after you write your title and your author's name, if you want, you can draw a little sketch of 3 bears also so you have a picture to go with it. And if yours doesn't look just like mine, that's okay. All right, once you've got the title and the author written, go ahead and put your pencils down. If you didn't finish your 3 bears, that's okay. You can come back and finish that. Good. All right. Good. All right, good. So let's look up here, guys. So I've got my title and my author. What story am I retelling?
The 3 bears.
The 3 bears. And when we retell something, that means we're doing what?
We're telling it again.
Yeah, we're telling it again. And so I really like a story wheel because we can tell it through words and pictures. And we're just picking out the big ideas, okay? So in my first wedge, I'm going to go around my pie kind of like I would go around a clock, okay? And in my first wedge right here, I am basically telling you who my story is about, 3 bears, where it took place in their home in the woods, and what did they do? They made some porridge. So if I was retelling my story, it would go like this. Once upon a time, in a house in the woods, the 3 bears made some porridge. Okay? Was that what happened at the beginning of our story? Yeah. So what I want you guys to do in your first wedge is I want you to retell that first opening piece, that once upon a time in the woods in their house, the 3 bears made some porridge for breakfast. So go ahead and you can write words, you can draw a picture, but that's what I want you to express in that first wedge. And yours does not have to look just like mine, it's okay. And remember, the important thing here is that we're using the wedges to retell, so we want to make sure we have enough detail from the story that someone who's looking at it knows what happened. I could probably go back and add some hot steam coming out of my porridge, right? Because what did the story tell us about that porridge?
It was hot.
It was really hot, wasn't it? So there we go. Put some steam above my porridge so you know it's really, really hot, because that's going to be important. Oliver, good. You got some extra detail there. Good. All right. Let's go ahead and let's put our pencils down. We're going to look at the next wedge. All right, so now as we move on to this next wedge, let's think. Here we know what happened at the very beginning. What happened at the beginning? Talk with me, yeah.
Once upon a time there was a house.
Yeah, and where was the house?
In the woods.
In the woods, and who lived there?
And the 3 little bears.
The 3 bears, and what happened? What'd they do?
They make some oatmeal.
They made some oatmeal, some porridge. Good, and what about that oatmeal and that porridge? It was really what?
Hot.
Hot, good. Then what happened?
They went for a walk.
They went for a walk.
Then the girl came.
Okay, I like that. Hang on to that. You're gonna need that in a minute. They went for a walk. Let's build off that. Why did they go for a walk?
So their oatmeal can be cool.
Yes, so they wanted the porridge to cool. Is the 3 bears leaving the house and going for a walk? Is that important to the story? Yes. If they don't leave the house, is Goldilocks gonna come in? If she comes and she peeks in that window and she sees 3 bears, is she gonna go in the house?
No.
No. So is it important that they leave to go for a walk? Yes. So should we put that on our wheel?
Yes.
Yes, because if we don't have that, the rest of the story doesn't happen. So what I want us to do here in this wheel, guys, in this wedge, is I want us to draw a picture of the 3 bears going for a walk because the porridge is too hot. You can write it, you can draw it, but I want you to think, how would I show the bears going for a walk because the porridge is too hot. If you're not a good artist, it's okay. Just do your best. Yes, Oliver.
You draw some trees and then you write a line, then another line.
That's a great idea.
Sidewalk.
Oh,
and then you
perfect.
draw them.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let's draw our images, okay? I'll work on mine too while you guys are doing yours. Make sure you add a lot of detail, okay? Because you want to use this as your retail. Good job. All right, let's put our pencils down. All right, so now we know it's the 3 bears. Let's start at the beginning with our retail. Where are they?
There was in the house.
There was a house in the woods.
There
lived 3 bears, and what did they do?
They made
oatmeal.
They made their oatmeal, their porridge. Good, and then what happened?
They
went
went outside
outside
so
They went for a walk because
their
The-
porridge was
the oatmeal was
it was
hot.
too hot and they wanted it to do what?
Cool down.
Cool down. Good. So now what I want you to do is I want you to talk to your partner and I want you to figure out what's the next important thing. What happened next in the story that was really important that I need to put here to retell? So turn and talk to your partners, okay, and figure out what should we put in that next wedge.
We can put a house and a tree, and then we can put Goldilocks in the window peeking in.
Oh, good, because what was the next big event in the story?
She went into the bear's house. She was speaking.
Yeah, she was peeking in, and then after she peeked, what did she do?
She got in. She went in.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that the next big idea is that Goldilocks came into their house, right? Good. So that would be a great idea. So what are you guys thinking? What's the next big idea?
Goldilocks came to their house and she picked in the window
Mm-hmm.
and she picked in the keyhole of the door.
And then what did she do?
She
after
opened the
peeked?
door
And
and
she-
she tasted the oatmeal and
Good.
the last one she ate
Mm-hmm.
it was the baby's one and it tasted so good that she ate it all.
Yeah. So Raymond, do you think in that next wedge right there, we need to draw Goldilocks coming into the house? Was that the next big event that happened? Yeah, because if Goldilocks doesn't come in the house, does the porridge get eaten?
Yes.
Does the chair get broken? If she never comes in, does the chair get broken?
No.
No. Does the bed get slept in?
No.
No, so it's a pretty big deal, right? So we need to have that. Great. So in that bottom wedge, go ahead, guys, and draw Goldilocks coming into the house. Here we see completed samples of the students' story wheels. The process that we used to complete them was that they followed the modeled I do, we do, you do. The teacher modeled how to complete the first wedge and then the first detail wedge. Students worked together to complete the second and the third wedges and then worked independently to draw their own representations of the end of the story. Story wheels can be used with any comprehension piece for students to recount the details of the story. Encourage students to use as many details as possible so when they go back to recount, they have everything they need to retell the story. Students are also encouraged to use words as well as illustrations in their story wheels.